Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. Today we are looking at the Waldorf Iridium synthesizer. This is the next video in the One Synth series where I take a synth and build a small Berlin School sketch out of it, a Berlin School / Prague / soundtrack, Luke music kind of thing. I'm doing this in basically using Ableton, record the synth, record build up a little Berlin School sketch by printing this to audio, basically. And just so we're only going to be using this, plus a little rhythm loop. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm just going through every synth in my collection and doing a one synth video for each synth. So I've got a record and can compare and contrast in a similar vein for all of them. So we tend to keep, I think we were doing everything in A minor for a while. We're going to move it around a little bit. And we change the tempo slightly each time. But let's dig into this. So the Iridium is an excellent, some people have said it is pigments in a box. So the Waldorf Iridium is very much like most sort of modern flagship level synthesizers these days in that it does a whole lot. And of all the synthesizers in my collection, I think Pigments is probably the one that competes with VSTs most effectively, right? When it comes down to software versus hardware, you are going to get a lot more functionality out of software because the cost is so much lower, right? So a VST synth they're able to cram a lot of stuff in there, whereas hardware, it's almost always a compromise of some kind. And with the Iridium, there is less compromise. There are 5 different synthesis modes on it, and all the bells and whistles you could possibly want. Again, this isn't a review. I'm not going to demonstrate everything in here. I'm just going to build a little Berlin School sketch, pretty much using a single oscillator. I am using some effects in Ableton just to be consistent. I'm using delay and reverb in Ableton. This certainly has delays and reverbs on it. But I just want to keep the videos as I'm doing them. The one synth videos are all sort of consistent. Anyway, so let's drill into this, okay? As you can see from the panel, and I know there's some reflection here, I just don't have a polarizing filter, so I'm just not that motivated. So not a photography guy, not a video guy. So you probably see the camera reflected in here, but the display is beautiful, right? And when you're in wavetable mode, which is the mode we're in right now, there are 5 synthesis methods: wavetable, analog waveform sort of stacking, a kernel system, which is like a FM synthesis. There's a particle engine that uses samples, and then there's a physical modeling resonator. Well, I'll play with a couple wavetables, maybe the waveforms, and probably the resonator as well. There's a lot here. This is very much an RTFM synth. You must, I would say 99% of the time, you're going to have to go digging through the manual for things because there's certain like UI affordances that it's not going to explain to you very well on the panel. So yeah, you're going to have to read the manual, but that's true of anything. If you're playing with pigments, you're going to have to read the manual there too. Let's do this. Let's talk about, bring my sustain back up. Anytime you modify something, the display jumps over to let you know what you're changing. All right, so let's talk about this. We are working with this Resonator wavetable. And what's happening, what you're hearing is there's a travel parameter. We set it to 0. Okay, so right now the wavetable's at the bottom. The active frame of the wavetable's the sign at the bottom, and we can scan through it. We can move through different wavetables. I don't know how many wavetables are in here. I would say, I don't know, maybe 100, quite a few. Let's move through. Let's do this. What I'll do is I will tell this there's a travel parameter you can use, and it will automatically scan through the wavetable for you. And we'll tell it to do a ping pong sort of thing, so it goes back and forth. All right, so now we can dial through the wavetables. So I don't know if you're like me, I kind of have wavetable fatigue, like everything has wavetables. And so the sound of a wavetable being scanned timbre-wise is sort of like ubiquitous in a lot of electronic music these days. It's just freaking everywhere. And it sounds awesome, but I'm kind of burnt on it a little bit. So we'll do a wavetable sort of pluck for this first bit. Let's do that. Let me change my filter to be sort of Pluck style. We'll scan. We'll put some modulation in here to sort of vary this. I like it's real sort of bitey at the top. Well, let's do this. Let's get something recorded, and then we'll put in some modulation, and then we'll scan through the wavetables and see, or flip through the wavetables till we find one we like. But we'll use this one for now. Let's see. All right, I don't think we need rhythm just yet. We'll use the metronome here. All right, so let me get something down here, a real short, like a 2-bar clip. All right, so if we keep that, we go back to here. Let's give it a little more reverb. All right, let's go back into this clip. And let's draw in some modulation. Now, what I want to do is I want to turn this knob, this is the position of the wavetable knob, and I want this to change over the course of the clip. All right, so there are so many parameters in the Iridium that if you were to say, like, take like, I don't know, a simpler synth like the Nord Lead A1, you open its manual, there's a table in the back that says, here are all the parameters of the synth, and these are the MIDI CCs you can use to manipulate them, modulate them remotely. That doesn't exist for the Iridium. If you go through the manual, there's nothing there because there are too many parameters, right? CCs only have 128 options, and a lot of those are actually in use by other things. And the way they deal with that on the Iridium, because there's just so many parameters you can modulate, is when you turn a parameter, your little menu comes up here that says, would you like to learn a MIDI CC for this? So we can go into Ableton and we'll set a custom CC control. We'll do 14, which is not currently in use. There's MIDI CC 14. I can modulate that from my push now. Let's rename this and we'll call it wavetable position. Wave position, wave pos, there we go. So now I can change that knob by manipulating the push, just like I can with this thing, but the convenience is that I can control it from Ableton and then sequence, I can use an envelope to modulate this thing, right? So wavetable position. I think this is actually still, it's actually still mapped to MIDI CC 14. You would have, basically you say, learn a MIDI CC. It's waiting. It still had 14 from the last time I played with this, and it's there, right? So basically, I've mapped MIDI CC 14 to this knob here. And then if I mess with it in Ableton, there we go. So what that lets me do then is I can go in and draw in the envelope I want. So CC wave 14. Let's do this. Let's just put some curves in here. There we go. All right. So there's our first little Berlin school. So how's it sound with rhythm? All right. So let's go through our tables now. So let's change some of the tables around. Since it's already scanning, that's not bad. I like that one. All right, let's print that. I'm gonna just edit out the printing, so give me a second here. There we go. So now we've got our bounce of that. Excellent. All right, so I don't think we need the metronome anymore. Let's see. So that's wavetable. So, I mean, I'm sort of glossing over everything, but there's a buttload of wavetables in here. You can use, there are 3 oscillators, so you can end up layering them and doing everything like that. But let's flip over to the waveform oscillator. We're still set up to be a Pluck. Right, so here's our sawtooth. Now, basically, it's modal, right? So when you flip through different forms of the sort of sound generation for the oscillator, these knobs do different things. And the panel's actually pretty nice in that it's laid out on each knob what the 4 quadrants are for the 4 different types. So, I mean, it's a pretty good compromise. My eyes are old and it's hard to see, but you know. Let's do this. Let's use a sawtooth. And one of the options you can do with the waveform is you can set the how many oscillators, how many copies of this, they call them kernels. And it goes from 0 to 8, but it's decimal, and so you have like tenths. So I don't know what a tenth of an oscillator is, a tenth of a kernel. But hey, whatever. So that's your option for like sort of a unison effect. And then there's this warp effect, which is basically folding the... So we can go from something that's like a saw to something like a square to something like a saw to a double saw. Bring that in. We can detune them. There we go. And then add sync. Add a little release here. See how that plays with the other one. do a little 4-bar pattern. We turn the metronome back on. Do a little recording here. Let's think. Let's plan out what we're going to play. That's better. Too much sync. All right, let's try that again. Let's bounce that too. All right, let's turn the metronome off. Let's bring our rhythm back in. All right, so that'll do. Let's do this. Let's put a bass together, and let's fiddle around with the resonator here. Let's see. What it's showing you is the sort of frequency bands and where the spikes are across the spectrum. If you've played with, I think the most recently added mode in Pigments has a similar sort of modeling system. Both of these remind me of Razor from Native Instruments, which is like 10 years old now, but it's the same sort of synthesis system. Although Iridium calls the parameters different things. It sounds very similar to what they were doing at Razor about 10 years ago. You can add this sort of inharmonic. You want to make it more bell-like. But I don't want a bell bass, so. All right, that'll work. Let's bring in another oscillator though. Let's bring in a classic square. Drop it an octave. Or maybe 2. 2 might be too much. Yeah, 2's too much. Let's change our filter type to be a 24 dB low pass. Let's turn off our reverb here a bit. A little less delay. Now there's a couple other effects in here. Like in the effects section, there's 5 slots for effects. But there's also this thing they call the digital former, which is currently set to be bypassed. Let's make it, but we can make it, it's like a third filter. Like it has a whole bunch of filter models in here you can use, but it will do some different distortions like a drive. See how that sounds with the others. I want more low end. I think that's pretty good. Play with the effects too. Let's put a chorus on there or something like that. Let's see. Just to spread it out a bit. Chorus. So a lot of the effects have an extensive number of parameters. None of them are simple, but they do let you save them as presets. So you can pull in, they provide you with a few effects presets for different things, and then you could save your own. And so this is a lot like the Korg stuff, which I really appreciate. Being able to save subsystems of the subsets of the sort of subsystems within the synth. So you can save effects presets, you can save oscillator configurations, things like that. But let's see. This is where I don't like the touchscreen. It's pretty good, but I have fat fingers. So you can, like in this case, you can't dial it either. You have to use the, I can't use the encoder to change the presets. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Close. Let's do this. There you go. See, it's not perfect. This one you can. So when the menu is highlighted with a color that isn't gray, you can dial through. So let's do a phaser. And let's load our phaser presets. So again, no purple border here. That digital former's clipping a little bit. I'm going to turn it off. Oh, though, that's our phasers being weird. A little much. So I think it's clipping the outputs on the... That's not bad. keep that one. Yeah, see, we're clipping in here somewhere. Let me bring the oscillators down. You really have to listen and watch for it. Right, so the synth will let you shoot yourself in the foot, right? You can totally saturate like the gain staging between modules or the master outs. I think we were actually clipping the master outs there. Record that. Let's do this. So that's heading into synthwave territory, or strange. What is it? Oh, what was her name? What was Janet Jackson's choreographer? What was her name? She did that Cold-Hearted Snake song in the '80s. This is heading into that place. All right, so this is me forcing the Iridium into places it doesn't really want to be. Well, I shouldn't say that it doesn't want to be them, but this is not where most people take the Iridium. So let me bounce this to a track real quick. All right, so now what most people want when they say Iridium is not this kind of sound. They want stuff like this. It's not going to be this is not going to be a preview of preset. We're not going to do too much preset surfing, but I'll do a few because I know people really want. Couple others, let's see. Yeah, or you can replace that multi. Go right ahead. And a couple others. And one more. I think I passed one of mine. Hang on a second. Stark Pluck 1. This is using the spectral resonator kind of thing. Anyway, so this is the Waldorf Iridium. Just a quick demo doing a Berlin School sketch, which we have here now. Maybe not Berlin School, but anyway. But this will give you giving a general overview, right? So as far as the synth itself is concerned, it's super powerful, right? You have more options than you could possibly shake a stick at. People call it pigments in a box, but I think it came out before pigments. I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. That's about it. So one synth video in the basket. I am slowly working through my my collection. I don't know what's going to come next. Maybe the Prophet 12 or possibly the Hydra synth. I don't know. I'm on the fence for those. I got to make room on the desk if I'm going to put the Hydra synth out here. It's honking huge. And really, that's about it. So, hey, thanks for spending time with me. I hope this is informative for people who need it. And if nothing else, it's a record for me. So appreciate it. Have a great weekend, whatever's left of it. I think it's Sunday. What time is it? It's Sunday morning. Have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for hanging with me here at Synth Seeker.